Are we on? Perfect.
There we are.
Jan Lewis is flying solo today, and so anyway, we'd like to welcome everybody to the Washington County Board of Commissioners and thank you for being here. We'll start off today's meeting by having an invocation by Pastor Joe Doherty from the New Promise Lutheran Church. And after our invocation, we're going to have our pledge led by Braley Clark from our ROTC. Pastor Joe? Thank you.
Let's pray. Good and gracious God, you made us in your own image and redeemed us through Jesus, your Son. Look with compassion on our broken and hurting nation. Take away the arrogance and hatred that infect our hearts. Break down the walls that separate us and prevent us from seeing you in each other. Unite us in bonds of love and compassion. And despite our struggles, confusion, and often misguided aims, work to accomplish your purposes in us, so that in your time we may all serve you not in uniformity, but in harmony. We lift up the Kirk family and all who mourn Charlie's loss. Surround them with your spirit and comfort them in their suffering. We pray also for the Robinson family. We give you thanks for their courage in choosing justice over self-interest. By your Spirit, may they also be comforted in their anguish. Finally, we pray for the leaders of our country, the leaders of this state, and for the county leaders in this room. Give them wisdom to lead with integrity and compassion, and to focus on our shared ideals as they look for paths of reconciliation and peace. This we pray through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I needed that.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Braley. Which high school are you from? Dixie? Yeah, you guys have
go
the best ROTC. Thank you. You guys are great. Well, as we begin today's agenda, we'd obviously like to welcome everybody. We'll start with our consent agenda. The consent agenda is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than a request to remove items, the motion to approve the items of the consent agenda are not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as follows. Item A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payment for September 3rd, 2025 through September 16th, 2025. B, consideration of commission meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2025. C, consideration of administrative adjustments of personal property. D, consideration of Zion sewer improvement change orders. E, consideration of Second Amendment to the Master Service Agreement with Via Path for inmate communication services at the Washington County Jail, and that's my motion.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on our consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Our next item is we are going to have our report from our search and rescue. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
good
We've
to
got
see
a conference coming up this weekend, so been busy. But the last month we had a pretty big decrease in search and rescues, which was in some ways good. The heat's kind of tempered it down a little bit. We had a total of 8 search and rescue calls for the entire month, so pretty low. We're still on track to be slightly above where we were last year. Total non-certified man hours were 101. Our certified man hours were 29 and a half. And that comes to a total of 130 and a half hours in this month, and 99 total SAR incidents for the year so far. The couple highlights that I wanted to go over on this. So the first one was a side-by-side rollover on Sand Mountain on August 31st at 10:41. And that one, search and rescue responded to a report of a side-by-side rollover. 2 males were involved in the accident, and both had reported head injuries. Life flight was requested due to the severity of the injuries on one of the males, and our rescuers responded to their location, and both were evaluated. The one male that they were concerned about was loaded in the life flight helicopter and transported immediately to the hospital, and then the other was transported back to Incident Command and loaded in an ambulance and also transported to the hospital. The second one was a missing person on Smiths Mesa just a couple days ago. That one was at 19:53 hours, and it was a report of a male who'd gone missing while camping. He was up camping in the area and was supposed to be back the following morning for breakfast with his family and never ended up showing up for it. So family got concerned. They went out and were able to locate the place where his campsite was and noticed that his four-wheeler was missing from the back of his truck. So they called us at that point, and it was dark by that point. So due to the darkness and everything, we had our search and rescue members start responding, but we also requested that Star 9 come out and see if they could help us locate him, given it's a vast area out there, a lot of private land, but there's one specific trail that's pretty rough and treacherous that we thought he might be on. So Star 9 was unable to come out at the time because of maintenance, but by the time that our deputies got out there, there were several family members that were already out searching the area. Search and rescue members got there and they all started searching Flying Monkey Trail area, and at about midnight, they ended up locating the male, found his four-wheeler and found him not too far from where the four-wheeler accident had happened. He rolled the four-wheeler and suffered a possible broken leg. And according to him, so the family actually were the ones that found him in this situation. According to him, he wrecked at about 9 a.m. the following morning, or that morning, and had been crawling since then. So like 14, 15 hours crawling, trying to get help since that point. By the time that we found him, Star 9 was up and available. So rather than trying to take him out in a side-by-side or something, we ended up having them come out and hoist him to a location where life flight was staged, and then he was transported to the hospital with life flight. And that's the two highlights that we wanted to go over.
Man,
Wow.
that's awful scary, so.
Thanks for your work.
Well, thank you for everything you do. Appreciate you, so thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Our next item is consideration of purchase request. Alfred?
So the first one that we got is for our roads department. It's going to be supplied and installed for road base in Pine Valley. And that one's going to be $34,625,000. The next one is going to be for our USU extension for their Outdoor Odyssey, which is an outdoor education program, for $10,000. And then our final one is from the tourism department, and this one is going to be for a marketing campaign in the Netherlands, as well as a trade show in Berlin. And that one's going to be for $14,075.
Very good. Any questions, commissioners, on the purchase request?
Nope.
Alfred, I like it when there's only, a handful.
Only 3, that's good.
I've gotten lucky so far. We'll see how it goes.
Keep it up.
Yeah, it must be.
Less money.
You're our lucky charms, so.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the purchase request as read into the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second on item 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you, Alfred. Our next item is consideration of ordinance number 2025-1303-0, request for a zone change from A20 to RA1, RA 2.5, and RA5 at 3350 East, 1400 North Bench Road, near Enterprise, Utah. Scott?
Yes, Commissioners, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. There we go. Go back one. There you go. So the subject parcel is located near Enterprise Rancho subdivision, just up on the Bench Road, almost as you exit the county. The property owner, Mr. Terry, recently dedicated the roads. There was a road dedication plat that came before the commission, and the roads dissect the parcel, and so in an effort to make the parcels usable for single-family homes, we are going through the zone change process. The property is currently zoned A20, and the property is broken up into 3 parcels. Parcel 1 would be, let's go to the next one, and next one. There you go, yep. So you can see, there you have parcels 1, 2, and 3. You can see that the parcel up at the top, across Bench Road, there's a portion of that parcel on the other side of the road, and that it's listed on there that it's not buildable on that side. The parcels, to bring them into compliance, parcel 1 is 2.71 acres in size, and so the request would be to rezone it to RA 2.5. Parcel 2 is 5.16 acres, and so the request is to rezone to RA 5. And parcel 3 is 1 acre, and it will be rezoned to RA1. The Planning Commission held the required public hearing in the last Planning Commission meeting, and unanimously recommended approval to the County Commission, subject to the findings and conditions listed in the staff report. The public hearing was properly noticed and was held on September 9th. If approved, the zone change will support the creation of 3 additional building lots in Washington County. The proposal meets the county's applicable requirements. The proposal meets the applicable Washington County codes. Notes have been added to the record of survey document to memorialize the non-buildable area of parcel 3. Hash line will be added to the survey plat to aid in the identification of this area. The survey document will include language to specify, acknowledge all 3 lots. They have grandfathered in for septic. Well, I'll finish that at the end. The survey document will include language to specify, acknowledge that no building permit will be issued until the irrigation water shares are converted to culinary water. And the language on the final plat and Mylar is subject to approval by county staff and county attorney's office. And the applicant will record the road dedication plat approved with resolution R-2025-3576 prior to or concurrent with the record of survey once approved. There are the Water Conservancy District grandfathered in 1 septic tank, and that an alternative system is required on the other 2 lots.
So a little bit about that. Is it the health department or the water district that is responsible for septic up there as far as approval?
It's a little of both. There is the septic density that is established in the areas, and that's more the Water Conservancy District. And then the health department, they go out and do the test pits and inspection of it.
Okay. So traditionally, what's the difference between those 2 systems?
One of them, there's a lot, I'm not an expert on septic tanks, but the alternative system doesn't require the leach field, and you're able to have there's less concerns about contaminants leaking into the water supply, and it's just a different technology.
But that would be overseen by the water district?
Yes, and the health department, yep. So since they'd be individual systems, not like a large underground system, it doesn't require a body of politic, it would just...
It's just a permitting process?
Yes.
Commissioners, other questions?
Nope. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve ordinance number 2025-1303-0 as written. and as explained by Scott.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 3. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Our next item is item 4, consideration of ordinance number 2025-1304-0, a request for a zone change from A20 to A10 at 2925 Juniper Road near Enterprise, Utah. Applicant, Don. Oh, Dean? Oh, we're standing right behind Scott.
It all passed.
We passed the motion, Dean. Yeah, sorry.
There's a problem with this motion. There's a problem with this. This septic system is called advanced, that they approved in small letters here, but this recommendation they requested from the Water Conservancy District costs 6 times as much as regular conditional. Now, bear in mind where this property is. We're right there next to Iron County, where at the top of the valley goes clear down there all the way to Delaware. Bob Holt has 35,000 head of cows, milk cows and feeder cows in the feedlot just underneath us. Talk about on the ground. And now this ground here is being penalized, according to what this letter says, because it calls for advanced septic system, which I will not live with. It's 6 times as much to put in an advanced system. There's no reason in the world for it. I talked to the chairman of the Water Conservancy District. He'd never heard of it before. Yet his people just come down and said, they recommend you this. So I'm sorry, I made a deal with this county. I would be deeding the road for 66 foot on Bench Road and 50 foot on Hope Canyon. I put no strings to it. Now, the strings that put on this, I can't live with. Yes, we're supposed to brought them in together. The zone change and the dedication. They got held back, and so yes, you did approve it. But we haven't signed the lending, and it's not been recorded, and it's not going to be recorded until we get these things straightened out. Because I'm not going to live with this advanced system.
So I have a question for our legal
It's not
counsel.
fair. It's not fair, and it's totally unconstitutional.
So my question, Devin, is as I was looking at what was before us right now was this zone change.
Correct.
And the plat, basically, to approve it. In some ways, is this outside the scope of what's before us as far as what type of, that was why I was asking who would approve the septic system.
And that's what I was going to suggest, Mr. Terry, is that this is just a zone change. This is not a condition necessarily of the zone change. And so I think what should happen today is you get your zone change that you've requested. And then, as I understand, is that the health department, Scott, that has imposed that requirement?
It's a water district.
So with the zone change, our county code requires that we have will serve letters for the lots that are created for the zones at the time of zone change, that we have the utilities figured out for the lots. And so this is standard practice and generally how zone changes are done. We have county codes, we need to follow them. We take recommendations from the Water Conservancy District and the Health Department and Ash Creek when it comes to these types of systems. They're the experts, not us. And this is what they are stating. There are other subdivisions throughout the county that to be able to get the density that they wanted.
This is not a subdivision, this is a lot split, so you don't, I don't want to hear that subdivision. This is a lot split that the county did. The county did the lot split.
So what I'd recommend, Commissioners, is that you've already taken action on this item. The code says what it says, and I'm happy, Mr. Terry, to to take a look again and see if there's any room there, but you've gotten the zone change that you've asked, and the code says what it says.
And I'm not a lawyer, I'll leave that to the lawyers. But, so Dean, what I've understood is that the water district is the one that's gonna decide which system you have on that smaller lot. And
They've got all three lots coming in. All, in that letter, it says all three lots are coming in under the advanced system. Not one, just three.
Just lot.
Am I right or wrong?
no, you're wrong. Two of them are under traditional, and then it recommends an advanced system for the smaller lot.
Scott's saying the one traditional, two
Yeah.
advanced.
That wasn't the way I read it, but.
Why don't you pull it up there, Scott, and tell us?
I'm looking at it right now. Says, yeah, the parent lot has been grandfathered in a traditional septic, so that's one lot. The other two lots will need to have an alternative system. Well, do you want me to read the whole letter? It's not needed, but the motion's already been made.
Well, let's, maybe,
So these are requirements that are being imposed by the water district. And so they've made this will serve contingent on having this advanced system on Lot 3.
So, Terry, if with the Water Conservancy District putting the requirements on, that's not us. Are you saying that you don't want to change the zones until?
I wonder what good it is. I'm not going to accept it, so why not do it all together? I'll accept it and then I'll go back to them. Is that what you're suggesting? Now you go back to Water Conservancy District?
Well, I'm saying that we have before us a zone change
Yeah.
that we approved. If you're saying that you don't, because you weren't recognized before I made the motion and we passed it,
Well,
if you're saying that you don't want the zone change until you work it out with the Water Conservancy, or do you want to keep the zone change and then work it out with the Water Conservancy District?
let's do that.
Okay, so that's what we've already done.
I think that, which is the best way to skin the cat? Commissioner, a reason I'm saying that is because we kind of did that backwards before by going and getting a dedicated road before we got the other. It's supposed to be done together. And I'm putting no strings on the road. I'm not putting no strings. I didn't ask you to move Bench Road down so you have a full acre on the north side. I left Bench Road right where it was. Was given them, so thanks to Victoria, we were able to take a piece of another and put it over there. So it worked out fine.
Okay.
There's one other thing too, and that is when it says that the lots will not be available until the water is transferred, it says though, your code, that thing says that it has to have water available. It doesn't say it have to be transferred. Check that out and see, Victoria, I'm not right.
Okay. So he says that he wants, Mr. Cherry, if I can confirm, you say you want to go leave it as is. We passed the motion to change the zone, and now you want to go work with the Water Conservancy District. I'm just confirming that what you said was that we've already passed the zone change. You want to leave that as is, and now go work with the Water Conservancy District on their requirements.
Well, first of all, you've taken care of the road dedication. Now you've done the zone change. Now what's down there?
The requirements on the septic are through the Water Conservancy District, not through us.
Well, you can override them. You're the last. You can do it. You can do it here and say that you can do it because it's grandfathered in. It was the septic tank for that 1 acre was grandfathered in before Washington County Water Conservancy had anything to do with septic tanks years ago.
Yeah, somebody who's more of an attorney than me would have to confirm whether that's true or not.
So my point is, you could actually approve it without the band system at all, which would make me happy. You don't have to worry about it.
I don't know if that's the case.
Because you're the you're the end of the road before you go to judicial systems. You're it.
The state actually,
You're the people.
the state actually requires certain acreage per septic system, not us. The state actually dictates that based upon studies of the underground soil's capacity to accept 1 per acre or 1 per 100 acres. That comes from the state.
Right, I understand that.
But we can't override the state by saying you can have 3 septics when they've already said it's 1 per 10 acres or 1 per 12. I don't know, but it's pretty significant up there.
No, all I'm saying is override the fact when they say they want an advanced system versus the regular system, because that area up there cannot qualify for advanced system. That area up there has all these thousands of acres of property, and so a traditional system is just fine. But it's a penalizement, saying it's got to have that 6 times the cost to do it on that acre to do a advanced system, which is ridiculous. It's one of those things, I guess, Commissioner Gill, that you'd say that when Trump says, for every federal regulation put on the books, I want 10 of them taken off. That's one that needs to be taken off.
Well, we may
This is
wish
your
that we
chance.
could do that.
It's your chance to do it.
It's sadly that the state looks at just the parcel that you own as to whether that qualifies, not the thousands of acres around you, even though the ground could accept that. Your neighbor may also say, now I'm going to subdivide as well and put in hundreds of lots. So,
For me, Dean, I feel like we need to consult with the water district on,
Well, Commissioners, you've taken the action that you can take, which is to grant the zone change request that's been made to you, and Mr. Terry can take up his concerns with the water district at this point.
all right. Thank you. Good discussion. Item 4 is consideration of ordinance 2025-1304-0, a request for a zone change from A20 to A10 at 2925 Juniper Road near Enterprise, Utah.
Yes, can we go to the next one? Okay, so the 2 property owners that own these parcels, you can see where, via the map, that it's just off Juniper. You can see Whole Canyon Road. I don't have a laser pointer to point, but these parcels, they're wanting to reconfigure them and have negotiated to change between the 2 of them to change the size of them. But to do so it would be a boundary line adjustment, but to be able to do so, one of the parcels needs to be rezoned. And it's the parcel 7004-A-4-NC. It's currently, all the parcels are currently zoned A20. This parcel would need, let's go to the next one, and next one. You can see the way that it's being configured. You have one that's a flag lot now that there's access via the stem of the flag lot down to the property, and so there's access to it. That's the parcel that does not meet the minimum lot size requirement for the A20, but it does meet the minimum lot size requirement for the A10. So the Planning Commission reviewed it, unanimously recommended approval of the zone change, as well as they approved the flag lot. The way that it's stated in code is that when flag lots are proposed, they need to be approved by the Planning Commission. And so
Okay.
this is cleaning it up. This allows the property owners to do what they desire to do with the property and own the property that they want to. And so the findings and conditions are listed in the staff report. The public hearing was properly noticed on September 9th in the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting. Property owners find the proposed changes beneficial to the enjoyment of their respective properties. The proposal meets the county's application requirements for a zone change, and the proposal meets the applicable Washington County codes by rezoning the parcels to the appropriate designated based on acreage of the parcel. If the zone change is approved, the boundary adjustment may be accomplished, and the language on the record of survey for the boundary line adjustment and conveying documents are subject to approval by the county and county attorney's office. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions, commissioners?
No.
You know,
Straightforward.
I work with the planning commission and the planning department, and I've watched this process go through, and I believe all the Ts have been crossed and the Is dotted on this application. Therefore, I move that we approve ordinance 2025-1304-0, a request for a zone change from A20 to A10 at 2925 Juniper Road near Enterprise, Utah. Applicant Don Wallace.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on the item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Our next item is item 5, consideration of ordinance number 2025-1305-0, a request for a zone change from A20 to mining gravel zone at 300 West, 300 South, Central Utah.
Yes, go ahead and go to, there we go. So on the map, you can see Frontier Road and Highway 18 intersection, and the parcel that's highlighted in red is the subject parcel.
How big is the subject parcel? How many acres, do you know?
Oh, it's 20.
I could probably find that out. We can.
Sorry, it's 36.95.
Okay.
And so what they are proposing to rezone the property to the mining and gravel zone, and it was reviewed by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission held the public hearing, and there was a lot of discussion at the public hearing. And the Planning Commission tabled it, wanting to have a site visit so that they could further meet with the applicant and the residents and be able to look at some of the concerns that they had with the property. After having the site visit and coming back and continuing the discussion on it, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the zone change 5-1 in favor of it. The planning commissioner that recommended denial did not feel that it was appropriate for this area. One thing with the mining and gravel zone is that all of the details of the project, the amount of traffic, dust control, noise mitigation, hours of operation, how many vehicles, the amount of staff or personnel may be on the property, if there's additional, maybe not in this case, but if there is a concrete batching plant or anything like that put on the property, all of that needs to be discussed and talked about at the project plan for the property, and no work can begin on the site until that has been approved by the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission, and we have the findings and conditions up on the screen for you, and the public hearing for the zone change request was properly noticed. The public hearing and public meeting was held on August 12th and September 9th. In the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting, the public meeting was tabled to a date certain, which was September 9th. This allowed the Planning Commission staff an opportunity to visit the site and review concerns expressed during the public hearing with the applicant. Washington County staff and members of the Planning Commission visited the site location on August 19th with the applicant. Purpose of the visit was to evaluate the proposed zone change, land use, compatibility, potential nuisance, issues related to noise, and to review site conditions and access. If approved, the applicant will be required to obtain approval of a mining and gravel plan, including a rehabilitation and reclamation plan, and performance assurance under terms acceptable to the county prior to issuance of a business license and mining and gravel permit. Let's go to the next page. The proposed zone change is appropriate distance from residentially zoned properties. The property has quick access to Highway 18. The property is convenient for construction projects on the west side of the county, and the use is economically beneficial to the area. If approved, the applicant will be required to obtain approval of the mining and gravel plan, including hours of operation, dust mitigation, access, traffic, rehabilitation and reclamation plans, performance assurance under the terms accepted, and numerous other considerations. So that is the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Scott, can you go back to that? Scott, if approved, the applicant will be required, that whole last bullet point there, can you talk about how that's enforced?
Yes, so it is laid out in our code, and I given you each a copy of the county code on that. Once it's reviewed and approved, county staff, and I'm sure the residents around there, will be monitoring the property and making sure that it is in compliance. If it's found that there's something not in compliance, we'll reach out to the operator and try to work things out. And if things aren't worked out, then there would be enforcement measures taken. And
But like dust, sorry, Mr. Chairman, but like dust, is there some sort, you just go out and go, looks all right to me?
yeah, there is requirement to have water mitigation to keep the dust down. What we have found with some of the other pits around, cinders can be different than gravel and some of the other materials, but it is difficult to keep the dust, to eliminate the dust. And so they need to mitigate it appropriately. And so it's up to the Planning Commission and I guess County Commission to determine, and staff, what is an appropriate amount.
So you and I spoke earlier, and I guess I'd misunderstood a little bit. So basically, the plan will be built around the requirements that are in the county code.
Correct.
And there's also state code that
Correct.
govern mining and gravel, right, as well?
Yes.
Is that, that's an addition and kind of parallels our code as well?
Yes, there's no contradictions between the two, and we do make sure that it meets the applicable state codes. I believe Kim Coburn is still the representative for down here from the state, MSHA, and so they will be also monitoring it, I'm sure.
Is there a way for, you have a parcel that's 36 acres, but obviously, I would assume in an operation, you don't need to like denude the entire 36 acres at a time. You kind of, a plan could be put forward where you would take it off in chunks, right?
Yes, what we would hope, and it talks about it in our code, is a phasing of the disturbance.
Yeah,
We hope they don't go in and clear cut the whole thing, void out any vegetation, and
Is that
make it
something that
look like
could
the
be
moon, but-
agreed to in a plan?
yes,
It's not just a hope, it would be
Yeah.
agreed in
correct.
advance.
Correct.
And can I add to that, Mr. Chair? There would be, under the code, there is an annual inspection to make sure that they're complying with the phasing plan that they've laid out in their mining and gravel plan.
Scott, I was discussing something with a gentleman back here who brought us some good points on water. Would water quality for dust mitigation be part of the plan normally so that they're not pouring highly contaminated or polluted water onto the ground?
That has not been enforced on any others, what type of water or checking the water quality that is in the pump trucks.
But you do have I read,
needs to
we
be
talked
wet
about
water.
drainage and
Needs to be
water.
what?
No, sorry, I said it needs to be wet water.
Wet water? as opposed to dry water?
Yeah.
Well, I would assume it would have to be not necessarily potable, but it wouldn't be anything containing a contaminant.
Yes, I imagine.
I mean, 36 acres, you could also build a couple houses and have raw sewage going in through septic as well, right? I mean, that
Yes.
would be enough land for septic tanks. So water doesn't have to be, like you said, culinary going onto the ground, because it wouldn't necessarily be culinary if you were using a different use with 36 acres as well.
That's correct.
And I would assume under the previous point about dust control that no one would want to, they guess they could, but I would hope in their plan that it's phased in such a way that if they were to take every bit of vegetation, which is a natural dust control,
Yes.
off, that would take more water than the county has maybe to keep the dust down. So I think it would behoove them to not denude the whole mountain at once.
That's true. I mean, I know we've
And that's
received-
something that we could require because as part of mitigating dust concerns through the plan.
I know whenever neighbors or communities start thinking about mining and sand and gravel, you know, they automatically think of Kennecott or some large open pit
Point of the
operation.
mountain.
But at the same time, you know, we've had good communication with a lot of the residents up there, talking to them about, you know, concerns about dust, concerns about noise and whatnot. And so, but as I was talking to you, Scott, it seems that it's kind of like any zone change. You change the zone, and then you got to get the building permit, you got to get the infrastructure, you got to get the roads approved, and that comes in a second process, right?
Yes.
Does that also include Frontier Road?
Yes, sir.
As well as, what would be the interaction, Scott, with, so UDOT owns SR 18, we own Frontier Road.
Yes.
So Frontier Road is a chip sealed road, I believe, and I'm getting a head nod from behind back there, which may or may not be able to take the weight of the trucks coming off. Is the permitting process the time when we would address improvements, if any, that might be necessary to Frontier Road in order to accept
yes.
that traffic? And what kind of interaction do we have with UDOT as far as acceleration lanes or anything with them in that process? How involved are they in the permitting
Yeah,
process?
so what we do is when we receive the plan, we'll be working with our Public Works and Engineering Department as well as UDOT and their regional representatives to determine, once we know the amount of traffic and such, what improvements, if any, need to be made. I know, my understanding is Frontier Road does not meet a standard that could handle the weight and the traffic on it, and so there need to be improvements made to that. And it would be at whether it's Frontier and or SR or 18, that the improvements would be at the owner expense. But
Okay.
all that would be handled during this project plan.
And you mentioned earlier, Mr. Chairman, just for information, a gentleman asked Scott how long that permitting process tends to take. And Scott said it kind of at the fastest, by the time it would get through their processes and then the planning commission and then back to us, it could be, kind of the fastest would be maybe 4 months or longer.
Yes.
Now, I was talking to Scott, and Victoria can kind of add to this. So it's only been recently that this was required as a zone change. Prior to that, extraction or removal of gravel or material was a conditional use inside of all zones, right?
That is correct. Yeah, some of the county codes hadn't been changed. We went really quick from being a rural county to one of the fastest growing in the nation. With that comes growing pains and code changes to address concerns. And so, yeah, previously, this is actually the first gravel pit application for the mining and gravel zone. All of the existing ones were approved as a conditional use previously, and gravel pits and mining operations were a conditional use in most zones in the county.
Well, there has been some discussion and debate, but discussion over the fact that there was historic mining and extraction on the property in years past, which, of course, there's a lot of cinder knolls up there, too.
Yes.
I think right now, I think you and I were talking, we considered there's at least 4 other cinder extraction areas up along the SR 18,
Yes.
something like that. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll admit I'm a little torn on this one, only because I can see, having met with staff, having met with the attorneys, heard from many of the residents, also kind of my own private property rights philosophy in life. I'm also, of the 3 of us, I'm, as I believe, the only one who lives actually next to a cinder mine myself. About the same distance, slightly further. I'm the second closest house to a cinder pit along Highway 18. The prevailing winds blow the dust directly to me. They don't blow it away, right? Honestly, we live in a pretty dusty place, right? It's the desert. I don't see, and I've communicated this, and people can agree or disagree. I like fresh air as much as I possibly can, and so I have my windows open a lot. Whenever possible. Plus, I don't like to pay for AC. So whenever it's nice and cool, I open the windows, and there's a nice layer of dust on the mantle when the windows are open and there's no mining activity, and there's a nice layer of dust on the mantle when the windows are open and there is mining activity. It's about the same. Again, my house is about the same distance as the closest house would be to this operation, and so I just throw that out there as it's not that we say, well, it's far away and it doesn't affect my house, so therefore, I live deep in the city. Well, I don't live deep in the city, and I do live next to one, and it's really not, I don't see a noticeable effect living next to one.
comments, commissioners?
Well, I think if we look back at various, I've lived here 43 years, and permanently, longer before that, but almost everyone's home was something else once. It was sagebrush or dirt. I was just out in the Little Valley area where we used to ride motorcycles and hike, and everywhere I've been is now a home, except for the cliffs, obviously. But at the same time, I love our native surroundings, and we can't control someone's private property and what rights they have existing or what they would like to do. We've already had 2 other zone changes, right? My feeling is, though, that I would add that I would hope that the applicants would make a pretty tight plan after this, which is required before they could extract. That would include respect for the land as they progress, in other words, not denuding the entire parcel, and the neighbors, and reflect how they're going to control their dust, but at the same time also know that they'll be watched every day. There's going to be neighbors there. It is a pretty long distance from homes, not visually, but physically, and I know that when you enter the highway, they'll have to have certain ways of keeping the mud on tires if it happens to rain on a particular day, so they'll have to have some sort of a rip-wrap so it doesn't just all get dumped onto Frontier. Every project around, that's a requirement now. Can't take mud on city streets, and you can't take mud on county streets as well, so unless they're already dirt, right? But having those are my comments. If I lived up there, I would not want to see the hill gone, but if I lived up there, I would also recognize that somebody bladed my road and cut down the trees for it. My lot was excavated. It's a hard balance, and one that we don't take lightly up here, because we do have a beautiful county and want to keep it that way. But I guess that's my comment.
I'm going to chime in on that as well. I do think, and I've mentioned this with several people, that there's some land not far from my home. I have a great view of the top of Snow Canyon. I love looking out there. I can see the sunset. It's nice to be in the backyard. And there is some private property between me and my view, and there's some people that would like to develop that. I don't like that. I hope they don't. But if I really wanted to protect my view forever, I would go buy the land that I didn't choose to buy and somebody else did. I also recognize that my neighbor last week in church, or 2 days ago in church, complained that I wrecked their view when my house was built, because it's a 2-story house and they used to be able to see and now they can't. I think the balance that Commissioner Almquist is trying to talk about right here, it just mentioned, is the way I try and balance the ability of private property rights to move forward is that it's in that plan, right? So if somebody, I would strongly and echo Commissioner Almquist's idea that the plan be tight, operating it into the wee hours of the morning or late into the night when people can't enjoy their own home, can't sit on the back porch and because of the beeping of trucks, but like I can't hear the basalt grinder next to me. I can hear Highway 18 noise much easier than I can hear the grinder. So, or crusher or other equipment. So I would say that's how I try and balance it, is not that you can't use it, but that the way you use it doesn't impact my ability to enjoy my land. I don't think that extends to view sheds forever, that I get to control all the land around my house as long as I can see it, because it might disturb what I would like to see. I do think dust, contaminants into the ground, noise, some of those things need to be kept at a reasonable level. So I would strongly encourage that. With that, Mr. Chairman, if there's no other comments, I'll make a motion, if you're ready for one. I would move that we approve ordinance 2025-1305-0, a request for a zone change from A20 to the mining and gravel zone at 300 West and 300 South near Central Utah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Our next item is consideration of Resolution R-2025-3589, a resolution adopting the updated Zion Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan. Wanda, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Wanda Maloney. My firm is Corridor Solutions, and we worked in collaboration with the Zion Regional Collaboration as well as Avenue Consultants out of St. George to develop an update for the corridor management plan for the Zion Scenic Byway. Next, please. And then next. Thank you. The scenic byways, as a definition, are roads that have official designations. SR 9 from I-15 to US 89 was designated a Utah Scenic Byway in 1990, so it is has been a designated scenic byway since then. Utah, for some context, has a collection of scenic byways that includes 27 scenic roads. Some of them are state byways, and some of them are also have national designation. National designation is by the Federal Highway Administration, and there are 2 levels: National Scenic Byways and All-American Roads. The purpose of a corridor management plan for a byway is to basically establish some guidelines for management of the corridor for generally 5 to 10 years. For this plan, the purposes are as outlined in the plan itself, or, sorry, back one more. To guide the management and also to establish shared goals among all of the stakeholders within the entire corridor. It does focus on managing tourism of those visitors who are already present in the corridor, and also includes all of the criteria necessary in order to have the entire route designated as an all-American road, which is the highest level of designation by the U.S. Secretary of Transportation. And just to point out one more thing about the corridor management plan, it is non-regulatory. It is, the action plan is by voluntary cooperation from all of the stakeholders involved. The plan itself has 6 chapters. The first one, of course, just introduces the purpose of the plan and lays out a vision for the corridor. The second chapter is to establish what makes the corridor significant. So we looked at all of the resources within the corridor, across all of the municipalities, and we created an inventory of resources that, again, establish why the corridor is significant. The next chapter, Chapter 3, is dedicated to the perspective of the road of the visitor. What happens when someone actually drives the route? Do they have enough information? What types of enhancements would create a higher quality experience for people as they're driving the road? And included in that, we did, in plan development, consider enhancements to the visitor experience that are visitor-focused. And then also, we looked carefully at who travelers were within the corridor currently. Of course, there are about up to 6 million people who are national park travelers who pass through the corridor. And then we sort of broke that down into what are the overlapping profiles of travelers who are there. In addition to the national parks traveler, because that information is important for communities as they're deciding who they want to come to their communities, what type of attractions and what types of stories they want to tell. In other words, giving the communities along the route the opportunity to decide how they want to leverage the designation for the benefit of their own community. And then the next chapter is dedicated to the roadway itself. Avenue Consultants looked closely at the traffic conditions and the roadway itself, including any accident data, just to ensure that there was nothing that would preclude designation from a safety perspective. And then Chapter 5 discusses the stewardship. In other words, who is going to implement the plan and what strategies will be used for ongoing engagement of stakeholders within the corridor. And finally, an action plan that was developed that basically is broken down into each of those chapters and how will each of those critical aspects of the corridor be addressed. If that's stewardship and implementation, marketing, interpretation. Interestingly enough, for a corridor that is going to manage and not focus on promotion and attracting new visitors, the action plan in the marketing section is pretty extensive. And that's simply because what information is necessary in order to redistribute the existing travelers within the corridor. So that action plans includes things like creating a solid brand, a recognizable brand for the corridor, so that ultimately the goal is to create a seamless experience for travelers between I-15 and US 89, so that travelers are aware that it's not just Zion National Park, that there are other stories and attractions and important resources to be found within the other communities, and those communities will decide for themselves which things will be promoted in order for their benefit, whether that be economic development, or if they're looking to maybe reduce the stress on some resources that are already having over visitation. So all of those are options within the framework of this plan. So far, the plan has been adopted by Rockville and Springdale and also Kane County. The Utah policy does require adoption by all of the entities along the corridor and the state legislature as well. And the plan does meet the criteria for designation as an all-American road. A portion of the route is already a National Scenic Byway, but there is a desire to apply for the additional designation for the entire route as an all-American road.
Oh, great. And I notice we have some of our great elected officials from over there on that side of the county. We have Mayor Bruno from Springdale and Councilwoman Patty Weiss from Laverton. I don't know if either one of you have anything to add to Wanda's comments. It's always good to have you. Yeah. Is there any questions?
My only question, Mr. Chairman, is we have in the packet the resolution, but I don't actually have the plan.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking the same thing. There is a plan. You're showing us copies of it. Yes, that beautiful plan.
We haven't seen that yet.
I have one.
Oh.
It's on the what?
Oh, it was attachment.
Oh, it was in the okay, well,
Yeah,
we missed the plan.
We would have had to kill down or chop down a couple trees to print them all.
I was looking real fast to see, is this just a presentation? Nope, this is ordinance, or resolution right away. So I would maybe move that we table this, so I can, for myself at least, I'd like to see the plan before adopting something I haven't read yet.
It is true, Wanda, I haven't read it. I think legal counsel did tell us, and you mentioned this as well, that there's not any statutorial binding to it. It's really kind of what we already have, a scenic byway. So if we do table it, I don't want you to think we're not going to pass it. We're just going to take just a moment and read it first.
There are jurisdictions and governments in this country who like to pass things so they can see what's in it. That's not us.
Yeah, there was actually a famous quote that I don't want to apply to us, that we pass it in order to know what's in it. But as I've followed you on your presentation, it actually is hitting all of the bullet points I think that corridor needs. I live on that corridor, so obviously it means a lot to me. But if it'd be okay, we'll go ahead and put it on our next agenda.
Well, I can say that I have read the plan and I feel very comfortable, but I'd like my colleagues to have that same benefit, so I'll second the motion to table.
Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we have a motion and a second to table item 6. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So thank you
Great.
very much,
Thank
and
you.
we will
Great job.
we'll do our homework better before next time and
Absolutely.
get it
Then
read.
if you have questions, we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much. You did a wonderful job in
Thank you. Thank you.
presenting, so thank you. Our next item is item 7, which is consideration of resolution R-2025-3590, a resolution approving a master services purchase agreement for the sheriff's office to purchase TASER 10 devices and equipment from Axon Enterprise Incorporated. Devin?
Yes, Commissioners, this is an agreement that would continue an existing arrangement that the Sheriff's Office has. They have an earlier model, TASER 7, I believe. This would bring us up to the TASER 10 model. And because this is equipment that requires ongoing upkeep and maintenance and so forth, it's kind of an ongoing agreement that would not only provide for the new TASER devices, but also upkeep and maintenance and so forth. So this is a 5-year agreement at roughly $130,000 a year for these TASER devices, automatic renewal at the end of that term. So, any questions?
No, I've talked to the sheriff, and I
Yep.
think it's something we need to do.
Deputy Kraus, this is a good thing? All right, good. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution R-2025-3590, a resolution approving a master services and purchasing agreement for the Sheriff's Office to purchase TASER 10 devices and equipment from Axon Enterprises.
Inc. Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. I was just thinking, what are we going to do with all those used tasers? And
A lot of fun
I think,
for somebody.
yeah, all
Not
right.
so much fun for other people.
Very good, very good.
Shocking.
Item 8 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3591, a resolution approving the notice of a grant and agreement award between NRCS and Washington County for the Forsyth Pine Valley Fire Damage Survey.
Jamie's covering her face, but her shoulders are shaking like she's
I actually thought that
got
was
severe
a great-
muscle.
I'm not volunteering to take the taser shot.
Not you, Todd? Gil will be the first one to volunteer on this after that joke.
This is a award that NRCS has given us to help us repair the damage from the fires and prevent flooding in the Pine Valley area. It's a match where they pay 3/4 of the construction cost, and we pay 1/4, and they also pay 100% of the engineering and technical assistance. So I'm recommending we approve this. It's for $1.4 million total.
So how much of this will go into construction? There is construction money in here, right?
Yes.
And it's basically to take a look at our culverts and all of our drainage and make sure that we preparing in any way we can.
The study will take into account culverts. NRCS does not pay for culverts.
Yeah.
If there's culverts that we have to put in, that'll be
Right,
part of
but
our
they'll
dime.
assess.
But the rest of them will be used to probably build some small detention basins to catch some of the debris and slow down the water so that it can get through our existing culverts. That's part of the plan, some erosion protection. If we do riprap, in the past we've been able to find donated riprap and use that as part of our match. So all of our match won't necessarily have to be hard dollars.
So how soon, as we approve this, do you think we can get,
We're limited on this one, it's the emergency,
Yeah.
and so there's 220 days. That time clock has already started.
Yeah.
And so we have to spend that money in 220 days. We can ask for extensions, but they're not
it's just
likely
so
to
important.
go
I mean,
forward,
I keep praying for rain, but I have to say everywhere but Pine Valley.
Yeah, exactly.
The right
Because,
rain.
last time I was
Moderation.
terrified, we had all these dark clouds around us, and I was just like, I had to call Chief Hardy, and I was like, hey, is it raining up there? And he's like, luckily, actually, it's my understanding that it rained everywhere but Pine Valley that day, so.
It's rained very hard up in the park, and it had some mudslides, and it had culverts overtopped. Luckily, it hasn't rained that hard where the residents saw.
From the burn scar.
Well,
And
we
it's amazing, some of the brush and stuff is already growing back, so.
Oh, good.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I call the question and make the
Please.
motion? I would move that we approve Resolution Number R 2025-3591, approving the notice of grant and agreement award between NRCS and Washington County for the Forsyth Pine Valley Fire Damage Survey.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 9 is consideration of Resolution R-2025-3592, a resolution approving a design service agreement for improvements on Regional Park Road at Legacy. And Devin, I have you there.
Yes, the county has identified certain needs or room for improvement on the Regional Park Road, and so this is a design services agreement that would take care of that. The primary focus would be tying in curb and gutter improvements that are adjacent to the Grafton building, and also some paint stripping and other incidental improvements there. So contract amount is $18,088.
Move to approve.
Move to second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And I am looking forward to that because that road confuses me every time I drive on it. So. Item 10 is consideration of Resolution R-2025-3593, a resolution to accept the conveyance of the old Pioneer Courthouse property of Washington County. And we have our wonderful council member from St. George back there, Steve, but you're going to speak to it.
Either way, of course, I'll yield to the councilman, but this is kind of fun for me. Actually, when I came to the county, I learned that this was, of course, in county ownership for years and years. It went to the city, but I believe in 1970. Is that right? Okay. And so this is an exciting day, I'd say, for the county. I think that the city has expressed a willingness to deed that back to the county, and so this resolution would approve that conveyance and allow the commission chair to sign the deed that has an acceptance. So if you look, it's not in packets, but it's before you. It's a special warranty deed that would take that back. There was a small sliver parcel, I'll call it an alleyway to the north, that the city would keep.
Oh, good.
And yeah, it makes more sense to be in city ownership. So this deed is just strictly for the courthouse property.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful building, and the city of St. George has taken incredible care of it. And we've had a lot of discussions about its future with previous mayors and council members, and so
It's exciting.
we
We'll look forward
appreciate
to it.
the city being willing to work with us on this, so.
I think our oldest pioneer here should make the motion.
That's true. The snow's,
Well, by family, that would be me. Oldest on the table. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3593, accepting the conveyance of the old Pioneer Courthouse property from St. George City to Washington County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. I could almost hear the angels and the Snow family in heaven cheering. that The courthouse has come home.
You guys are just going to push this as much.
Our next item is item 11, consideration of resolution R-2025-3594, resolution approving TRT funding for marketing sponsorships and event funding for nonprofit organizations in Washington County. Jamie?
Yes. The Tourism Advisory Board recently met to approve funding for the following entities and purposes. Arts to Zion for design, printing, and distribution of their Arts to Zion gallery and museum maps for $14,073.25. Washington County Historical Society for printing and distribution of their museum brochures for $11,625 for a total of $25,698.25. And then for event funding, we have the FMASU, which is the Film and Media Alliance of Southern Utah, for their Desertscape International Film Festival in the amount of $2,000. Utah Tech University for Doc Utah International Film Festival for $5,000. The Zion Forever Project for their 2025 Zion Park Invitational for $5,000. Desert Roads and Trails Society for their Winter 4x4 Jamboree in the amount of $12,000. The Senior Softball USA for the 2026 Spring World Championship for $25,000, and the Great Western Classic Events 2025 Great Western Classic Basketball Tournament for a minimum of $18,000, maximum of $25,000. The increase has to do with how many teams they end up bringing to the county and to the event, for a total of $74,000.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-3594, approving the TRT funding for the marketing sponsorships and event funding for nonprofit organizations in Washington County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 11. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Our next item is item 12, consideration of resolution R-2025-3595, a resolution approving the expenditures of TRT funding for a marketing agreement with Tuacahn for the 2026-2027 Broadway season. Jamie?
Yes, again, Commissioners, this is an approved expenditure from the Tourism Advisory Board. This is a marketing agreement with Tuacahn Amphitheater. This agreement will allow us to market their newest season, which, as you know, is now running through the winter season, which helps to bring that shoulder visitation. The entire agreement is for a total of $190,000. And it gives us a little more leverage to be able to bring notice and notification, or notice to the visitors, be able to market Tuacahn as an entity a little bit better.
Very good. Pretty straightforward. Tuacahn's a great tourism venue.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3595, approving the expenditure of TRT funding for a marketing agreement with Tuacahn for the 2026-2027 Broadway season.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes.
Should we adjourn?
Well, Councilman Kemp is here, I believe, for this next item, I assume. Item 13 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3596, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County and St. George City for tourism tax funding to assist improving the Sun Bowl and Thunder Junction. And Brittany, good to have you here. You know, I was just thinking as you were coming up, see, we have Councilmember Kemp here, Steve, and he is used to having a meeting that lasts till 10 o'clock at night. So this is gonna, I'm trying, he's
So we
back
need
there
to draw
taking
this
notes.
out a little longer?
Yeah, this
We
is
draw
the
this
second
out.
to the last item.
Do you want me to read all the words on this resolution? I can do that.
Twice.
But in summary, this is a request that came from St. George City and was presented to the Tourism Advisory Board on September 4th, requesting funds for both the expansion project of Thunder Junction Park and the remodel of the Sun Bowl. The board is very supportive of both of these projects, recognizing that they both have a positive impact on our local residents, and also hoping that the Sun Bowl, the changes in the Sun Bowl will open that up to have some possible events that will bring outside visitors in. We do know that Thunder Junction, there's a wide range of visitors that come to visit that park. It's an excellent add-on for our visitors, and they have ways of tracking some of that visitation, and they're going to do that and present a report so that we can see actually how many people from outside of the area are coming, but we know it's substantial. So the request is the recommendation from the board is $2 million to be used towards those two projects.
I know that, I remember my Economics 101 class, and for whatever reason, this has always stuck in my mind that any time that in economics, there's always trade-offs, right? So there's a lot of demand on dollars, and we've had these discussions among ourselves where, we have demands for an expansion of the Dixie Center. We have demands for expansion at the airport. We have demands for expansion of at Legacy Park. And so there is, whenever you spend dollars somewhere, you don't have dollars for other places. And those are all like things that I think all three of us take into, deep consideration as we kind of try to formulate what's in our best interest. I'll just speak to this issue since I'm talking already, is that, the Sun Bowl, we're going to have our, 100 and something, I don't know what year it is, that we're our 91st rodeo, and then immediately afterwards, it goes under construction after that, and I can remember a few years ago, anybody that was here can remember it, it was taking up all the oxygen in the room, the debate of how long, if at all, the rodeo could go on, and as we grow, and we've seen in other items before us, is that growth is something that's been pretty consistent in our county. And I have a picture that shows that Sun Bowl right in the middle of nowhere, when it was first constructed. There was zero around it, which really surprised me because it's only a couple blocks from the temple, right, which is the center of town. And then, of course, we'd already committed 1.7, and here's the problem, is that the city of St. George does such a good job in design. I can't compliment Shane Moore enough and his team for their vision for this community and what they do. They come in with this beautiful 3D model of what it's going to look like, and it just kind of melts my heart. And I see that we'll be able to have rodeos there for another 90 years, and other things. Because right now it's really a pretty singular facility. There's not a whole lot else you could do in it. And of course, Thunder Junction has just been a hit as well, and it's just well used, and the expansion does give it more life, and it's a concept that I think really embraces, all children. I grew up in a time when, you had those really fast but dangerous slides and a couple swings. I can remember there was at any one time somebody in my class had a cast on,
Yep.
and it usually came because they fell off the slide or something. And it's great to have a place where children who are less mobile can go, as well as children that are mobile. They just love it, and it is a draw. But I do want to acknowledge, and my fellow commissioners have very good wisdom. I really appreciate the power of council, and that there is a trade-off. Whenever you spend money somewhere, it isn't there for your other expenditures. But that's my thoughts.
Well, awesome, and a good one. Well, I couldn't agree more, and especially because I'm a St. George resident, and although these are county-wide facilities, I'm proud to be, like Chairman Iverson said, part of a group that is forward-thinking. So with that in mind, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3596 approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County and St. George City for tourism tax funding to assist in improving the Sun Bowl and Thunder Junction.
I'll second that motion, but do you have something to say?
Yeah, since usually we have then discussion, right? So I just, in full disclosure, I have called Mayor Randall, the city manager, some of the staff, and every single city council member, so they were not blindsided by this. I am not against the Sun Bowl nor Thunder Junction. I think they're very cool. I voted for the money that we already gave to the Sun Bowl the first time. I don't know if I've missed a rodeo in my lifetime if I lived in Washington County, other than the years I was in college or on a mission. So I love it. My dad played football there as a little kid, or as a kid, right? So I'm all for it that way, and I think it's wonderful that our citizens sometimes get to enjoy things that are paid for by tourists. Sometimes people say that, well, it's the only benefit we get of tourists, and as Councilman Kemp can attest, that's not true. Drastically higher property taxes would be paid by all of our citizens, but for the retail tax paid by tourists. And almost a third of the St. George City budget is retail tax paid by tourists. So there are a few other benefits, but I love that we get to benefit from things that are contributed by tourists, which is why I voted for this the first time. I can't support it at this time, and the reason for is what you alluded to, but specifically, this is, we have plateaued, as Brittany can attest, we've kind of plateaued in our tourism revenue. We're not seeing that just massive growth in revenue that we did during COVID and in the years quickly thereafter, right? And so our dollars have become finite. We've given, I think, approximately $50 million over the last decade in projects like this around the county. Again, some of those are great and wonderful projects, but if you take as both of you know, if you take every single project that we have and the dollars that we've set aside for it, there are not enough dollars. Mm-hmm. And so I think the county's role is a little broader in the way that I view things, that we do things that tend to transcend city boundaries, things like the airport, which is owned by and run by St. George City, but is an asset that all of us use. Nobody says, well, I'm not going to fly out of the St. George Airport, I'll fly out of the Laverican Airport. I see, but in the expansion that the city is talking about, which I couldn't support more and is so necessary economically, as well as for our citizens, but they'll have all of the bills on day one and not all of the revenue. So who's going to help pay that? And I think money should be set aside for that. That's a benefit that all citizens are going to benefit from almost every single day. Zion, which is our largest economic driver by far, contributes almost 1/10 of our entire GDP, comes from first-time spending associated with Zion National Park. As you already know, and I don't want to get too far into the details, but the app, I mean, we've promised the Department of the Interior that we can, if they don't go to the reservation system, there are things that we can do to try and address that, to save our economy a $350 million annual hit just to Washington County, $500 million in southern Utah. That's an enormous amount of money. And something that every one of us would feel in some way. So I think that the app, now we've talked about the expansion of the Dixie Center. That's not fair to talk about, well, because that's tens of millions of dollars to expand the Dixie Center, which we could fill today if it was done today. But $2 million is not going to build an expansion of the Dixie Center. But it would fund the app to help move people around Zion at a little over, about $1.4 million between the hardware and the software. It does fund the shuttle. I wish Mayor Bruno was still here from Springdale, since Zion National Park is really contemplating not having a shuttle service in Springdale anymore. Can you imagine the tourism experience of the 5 million people going there if they have to park 4 miles away just to walk to get to the entrance of the park? Now, we will have to fund that shuttle. Somebody will have to. There's no way we can have that experience because our economy will nosedive from the tourism respect if we force people to walk through Springdale to get to the park. the park and deal with all the parking nightmare that might entail. The app, the shuttles to the East Zion, the app is 1.4, the shuttle is $750,000, the East Zion shuttles is $330,000 a year. I can fund all of those on this money. And for Liberty Village, which is looking for an additional $400,000. All good, the airport for millions of dollars for the bonds on that one. All good projects. But as you said, it's a trade-off of what? And if we fund this, then we're going to have to fund these other things because we can't let our economy hit $350 million a year. So that's not going to happen. So then we're going to have to raid another fund to replenish the Zion funds. And if we're going to, at the end of the day, there won't be dollars left to fund. I can tell you, I will direct them to the two of you. For that, whoever that person is, they can call you because if it happens to be $2 million or less. But I would amend and say, I can think, I've worked with the city, I've talked to them several times, I think there's some benefits there. I would be more comfortable at about $500,000 apiece. That would be, my motion would be to amend that. I'm going to guess I won't have a second on that, since there was already a second on the first one.
Yeah, we already have a motion on.
But I would think $500,000 apiece, and I could be more comfortable with it. That would still leave us $1 million short somewhere, but that's my reasoning as to what I'm trying to accomplish, which is broader than just.
Very well said, and great perspective on our limited funds for sure. And I know that wasn't trying to jump the gun by making a motion, but having said that, due respect to Commissioner Snow for sure.
Well, but we are going to have to get at some point a grasp on spending. The addiction to spending, I think it's financially irresponsible to continue to just, hey, we can fund this and this and this and this and this. Some city is going to be screwed on this, or project or something. I mean, we can't continue to do this. There are just not enough dollars. I think it's financially irresponsible to not have that perspective for cities, for entities, for the county, for everybody to have in mind that the thought of unlimited funds and this will all just work out is not going to just work out.
Well, here's the fact of the matter is, Commissioner Snow, is everything you said is right. It's correct. It doesn't necessarily mean that the motion is wrong, though. It does come back to this trade-offs. Poor Brittany has had to sit there and listen to each of us come in and like, hey, I got that, where are we going to find the money for the Sun Bowl? Where are we going to find the money here? And she just looks back at me and says, you're the commissioner. Why are you even talking to me about it? Go talk to Ryan and see what's in the budget and see what to do. And we have had, obviously, a lot of great, good discussions, and I just want to tell Commissioner Snow absolutely how much I respect him. Even though I am going to vote against him, I absolutely respect him and appreciate his points. And here's always my worry a little bit, Commissioner Almquist, is that I hope that he doesn't get the opportunity to say, you know what, I told you guys so. And but if you do, that'll be.
You'll know when other people start calling. Oh, he'll know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one more comment, and that is, we have also said that the potential federal involvement in limiting visitation is still real.
Yeah.
And we've also said that we need other venues to attract people here. I know that when I go to Thunder Junction, most people are visiting with, they brought their grandkids down or somebody. There's a lot of people from out of our local area, and Brittany alluded to the fact we're going to count them. We're going to start to see if there's really some proof in that statement. But I happen to know too that if the Sun Bowl's use is more than a rodeo and that they have designed to get it to the right size and the right number of attendants, that also, because this is such a mathematical mystery, we don't know yet of what that will generate from our tourism economy, even if indeed we are spending a limited amount of funds. We can also count on the fact that more opportunities may augment the loss, or we maybe recover quicker. I can say that we're sitting in a very building that 26 years ago, when they started saving for it, they did incrementally, and they didn't all of a sudden say, someday they're going to need $26 million to build this building. And luckily, prices in the last 26 years have just far exceeded whatever they thought back then they could have built. But we still did it without debt, and I have maybe more of that optimism that if we do these smaller right things, they may add up to a bigger pie. And granted, we need the things that Commissioner Snow said. We absolutely need them. I just happen to feel like we're going to get them. May not be today, but we're going to get them.
I get that, but I just have to say, I have to respond that I don't think there's anybody at the city or in any of our tourism employees at all that expects that the Sun Bowl and Thunder Junction combined on their best day over a century is going to equal $350 million a year in economic impact.
Absolutely not.
They don't come for Thunder Junction.
They don't.
I agree.
Nobody does.
It's an
They
add-on.
come as an add-on while they're here. The
Right.
5 million people coming to Zion, or the 1.5 that won't be able to come in if the National Park Service goes to reservation system, aren't going to say, well, we'll go to Thunder Junction instead. As cool as the addition is, because it's awesome, Shane did a phenomenal job on it, but it's not $350 million. But I can fund the app that would help solve that, and I can run the shuttle to East Zion for 3 years on the same amount of money, combined.
I'll just say one last thing. So maybe this comes back to a box of Cracker Jacks. So when I was a kid, my grandparents lived down near the temple, and so we'd come over for the rodeo. And I went to the rodeo, and I can remember my parents weren't really big on sugary treats, so when they bought me that box of Cracker Jacks, at the rodeo, they'd sell them, and they had the little prize inside. And it just, maybe it forged such a memory in me that I've just always had this. Brittany's always looked at me like, why do you love the Sun Bowl so much? And maybe it's just because this is rodeo week. I think it's kind of appropriate, right, that we're voting on this on this week. We didn't even plan it, but every comment that's been said is true. Maybe I just want, I'm just hopeful that we can continue to have great traditions, and some little kid can go get are they still giving those prizes in the boxes of Cracker Jacks,
Yes.
Those are awesome little prizes. And so with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 2-1. We very much still love our Commissioner Snow. Ed is going to come up and talk to our next item, which is item 14, consideration of resolution R-2025-3597, a resolution approving an agreement between Washington County and Skynov Impressive Production and Platform Virtual Tour Services. Ed, how are you doing? ¿Cómo está, amigo?
Muy bien, gracias. Thank you. How are you, Commissioners? Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, this is about an agreement that we're negotiating with Skynav. This company, they produce and they develop a platform for a 360 interactive aerial map in whole Washington County. It's an item that it's in the budget under the media production. All the department in the Greater Zion are agree that this tool is going to be very helpful for the sales team and for all the verticals that we have, but also for the visitors, where they will be able to really see and explore the area once they are here or when they are planning their trip. They can see the proximity of the different places that they can go, and also it's going to increase the engagement in our website. When I started this job here, I came with this philosophy that is like engagement drive conversion, and I think this tool, it will help to that engagement and to convert all these people visiting the website to finally book their trip, come here and stay longer.
So does this get out on the trailheads, different sites of interest? And
yes, so this first time that they will be here producing, they're going to have 50 points that they're going to be flying the drone and taking these 360 shots. So it's going to be in 50 places all around the county. We already have all these like points from Springdale, Apple Valley to Enterprise to Snow Canyon to like here in downtown, the golf courses, the Dixie Center. And then after that, they're going to come the next season for spring and for winter, where we can have other points and also showcase like how it looks Zion or Springdale on winter and how it looks on, so they can see and experience, and it's like, oh, this looks pretty on winter, let's come back in winter. So yeah, I feel that it's going to be...
So is it going to go on, you're thinking that we'll keep updating it over time?
Not all the time. It's going to be just like, we're going to have just 3...
Because I need them to come back for Thunder Junction and the Sun Bowl when it gets
Oh,
fixed.
too soon.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Too
going to be
soon.
longer. The good thing is like we have, what we're paying for this platform, we can do this update. So if we have new businesses in town, if we have a new hotel, that's something that we can go into and we can add those things using just the assets that we will be on it forever.
So Ed, I think just for the general public's question, might be, how does this differ from like Google Earth or,
Yeah, I was thinking that same.
or Google Street View,
Yeah,
which provides a 360 view? How does it differ from that?
well, the difference is that we can really control those interesting points that we are going to show and the businesses that we want to add. We have the capability to add video, to add audio to the interested points. So you want to hear how is the gnat sound on Snow Canyon, and you can click there and then you can hear that gnat sound. Or you can see the different, like right away, how it looks on winter, how it looks on fall, and the different colors. And I think that we have a total control of what you can see when you are in Google Map, and those platforms is pretty much very standard what you will see there. Here you have more control.
Very good. I like it. Any other questions? Do we have a motion, or should I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2025-3597, a resolution approving an agreement between Washington County and Skynev Intermersive Production platform for virtual tour services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye? Nay?
Yeah, no,
All right. With that, we will stand adjourned. You know, we used to have those times when we would, turn to each other and say,
I was trying to get your attention because I wanted to make one comment. I'll make it now, even though the meeting's adjourned. St. George City really appreciates the county and the fact that we're partners and the things we work on. We appreciate the commissioners, especially Commissioner Snow, and the things that he's looking at. He's looking at the big picture, those things that matter a lot, and I appreciate understanding those concerns with Zion, and it is a great big number. For the public's, the reason I showed up is one, thank you for that, but two, some of the things I'm sure were heard by the board, but were maybe not mentioned in the public meeting, and I want it on the record. The Sun Bowl, the rodeo, the actual rodeo started in 1935, is when they very first started having the Lions Rodeo. They took a small hiatus for a little thing called World War II. Other than that, World War II, I think it was a 1 year, maybe 1 year break, or a couple year break. They have had the rodeo every single year since then. The Sun Bowl was built in 1947, right after World War II ended. They raised, the Lions actually had $10,000 that they had been saving. And they put together, asked each of the members of the Lions Club back in 1947 to find a way to add another $100 to the pot, which at that time was a month's salary. So it was a huge contribution on the part of the Lions. That rate got them up to about $35,000. They started the project the first time that gypcrete concept was ever used, where you'd build a form or bricks and then spray in the concrete, took less concrete. And we have seen exactly what you're seeing, which is the Sun Bowl is a one-trick pony. And we have worked very hard with Shane and with the rest of the committees that we've had to make sure that this is no longer a one-trick pony, that we are available for the rodeo, we're available for concerts, we're available for events of other types of events. If we need to take the dirt out or put the dirt in, or or whatever needs to be done to make this, although it's an outdoor facility, that it will be available for other events and can be used throughout by members of the community to bring other people in, and that it will be a tourist attraction. It won't replace Zion in any way, shape, or form, but the Sun Bowl will be ready for another 90 years, so to speak, of what we're doing with what we've got. We're on a tight timeline. We've already had to order the bleachers and everything ahead of time because they were on a 14-month wait line to get the bleachers, and that was the one thing that we said, if you don't you can get more people to pour concrete, you can get more people to paint, sheetrock, run electrical, do whatever it is, steel, but you can't do it if you don't have the bleachers. And we will not miss another rodeo, or miss a rodeo. So the contractors are very clear on that, and so we appreciate the county's support. Also on Thunder Junction, the most visited park in the St. George City system, by far. We've been loving it to death, and so this expansion of the All Abilities Park will allow us to continue to put on those, not just the day-to-day, but also the things like the Christmas and different holidays. They put on special events. We're pushing to go to a 7-day, having it open 7 days. We have plenty of employees that have said that they are willing to work over the weekend. They volunteered to work over the weekend because they're either college students or other things where they have school, and so that gives them an opportunity to earn a little bit of money when they're not in school. So we're working on ways to make it as productive as possible and available to as many people as possible. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Only, yes, an advanced septic system. Have you ever had, I mean, guys, it's not, come on, the meeting just got started, I mean, we haven't taken our first break yet.